Hi-oh, it's Karen and
Pluto!
here for Karen and Pluto's Not Another Review channel with another movie review.
Yep. Yet another one.
Yet another one.
What are you looking at?
I'm scratching my leg and looking at my notes
I thought you were
for
confused.
this. Oh,
This movie's kind of confusing.
This doesn't take much. So we are going to review Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010.
Yay, I am so excited.
The remake.
Yes, this movie is so awesome.
So this movie is rated R. It's an hour and 40 minutes. I have actually watched this a few times. I think it's part of it. I always say I'm trying to figure out some things, even though I don't know what I'm trying to figure out when I watch it.
Yeah, it's just a horror movie. You watch it and you have fun.
Yeah.
We'll try to.
So anyways, we start at the beginning where there's a montage of kids and a preschool. So that goes on through the credits. And then we cut away to Springwood Diner. And it goes inside where one of our characters, Dean, is sitting at a booth. He asks for coffee. This waitress walks by, totally ignores him. And
how dare she?
He's like, okay, what's going on? So he starts following her through, and there's like nobody around. There's all this weird stuff going on. Then all of a sudden, Freddy shows up behind him, and he turns around and he's not there. And then Freddy shows up again, cuts his hand. He ends up waking up with a cut on his hand, and he's bleeding. So one of our other characters, Nancy, is a waitress there. She comes by and she's like, you need to stay awake or they're going to kick you out. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm trying. I'm trying.
If you fall asleep at a restaurant, they kick you out?
Probably.
Oh, no, I should try that.
Taking up space.
Yeah, I guess.
Not that the place is that busy at that time of the night.
Really?
So then as Nancy's walking back up towards the front, one of our other characters, Chris, comes walking in. And they kind of exchange pleasantries. And then she says about talking to Dean. So she goes and sits down with Dean and comments that he hasn't slept in 3 days. So then we cut away to another booth with Quentin and I can't remember the other dude's name. Jesse and another kid. I don't know who he is. They're all kind of sitting there. And Jesse is kind of upset that Chris is there talking to Dean because they used to be boyfriend and girlfriend.
More of this crap again?
Yeah.
Gee, we just did this in Sorority Row, right?
I know. It's throughout these movies. Well, cuts away to Dean and Chris talking.
Boring.
He's saying he doesn't want to sleep because he's having all these nightmares and basically hence the haven't slept in 3 days comment.
I heard this all like 25, 35 years ago.
Dean's playing with a knife. Somehow in all this, like, okay, he starts playing with a knife after he dumped coffee on Chris and Chris excused herself to go get cleaned up. So he falls back to sleep. Freddy grabs him and the knife.
Ah! Freddy's coming after me.
Yeah. And basically, Freddy takes the knife towards Dean's throat, even though in reality, Chris and Nancy are kind of standing there like, Dean, don't do it or anything. Well, then he goes and slits his wrist or slits his throat. Wrists were the last one. Yeah. And he dies. Obviously.
Well, you never know.
This is true. So our next scene, they're at Dean's funeral. Chris sees a young girl with slashes over her dress, and here she had fallen asleep and wakes up with a start. We have I put in here the adults mingling, so some of the parents are kind of talking. The one, Quentin's dad is, I don't know what he is at the school. I don't know if he's a principal, a coach, a teacher, or what, but he says they're going to be a crisis center set up at the school because of all this.
He's not as cool as Nancy's dad in the first.
Yeah. So Chris is looking over the pictures that they have up at the funeral of Dean throughout his life, and she sees what looks like her as a young girl in one of them. And Jesse is like, I didn't think you knew Dean till high school. And she goes, neither did I. So they're kind of talking afterwards. And Chris is saying about how she's, things are going on and discussing what Dean was saying. And Nancy kind of chimes in and says that she believes her. And Jesse's like, stop filling Chris's head with stuff and everything else. Him just being a jerk. Anyways, next we cut to Nancy at home. She's listening to some music. She kind of dozes off, and all of a sudden the wall above her bed starts doing all this funky stuff. And
that is so bad.
And Freddy kind of shows up through the wall.
Come on, that looks so bad.
Then she wakes up.
That's bad.
And then it goes over to Chris at home, and she's looking through old photo albums, and there's some photos missing. So she kind of asks her mom, like, where are all these other photos? You checking on Chloe?
Yeah, I can hear her snore.
Oh, she doesn't worry about bad dreams.
No.
So
Does that affect the animals too? Does Freddy attack animals? That would be kind of cool.
I don't know.
All right.
So anyway, she's questioning, where the photos are at. Her mom goes, oh, they're probably in the storage space above the garage. And she's saying, I didn't think I knew Dean till high school. Why was I in like these other like one of the pictures of the funeral home? And she goes, oh, you're just stressed out. Come on, dinner's ready. Kind of just blows her off.
You can remember that from like preschool or kindergarten?
I don't know. Some people may not.
Oh, okay.
So later it cuts to Chris. She's going to look for the photos. She finds a box of items. She finds the dress the little girl had on at the funeral home with the slashes in it. And then all of a sudden Freddy's behind her. And she wakes up screaming because she was dreaming.
Too much of that.
That happens throughout.
Yeah, and I don't like that. There's too much.
So we're at school the next day. Chris is sitting in history class or something.
That's the blonde girl, right?
Yeah, the blonde girl.
Oh,
Kitty Cassidy.
You say Chris. I keep thinking of a guy. I don't know why.
Well, that's how they refer her, as Chris.
Chrissy. I don't know.
So Chris falls asleep in class. Freddy shows up.
I've done that before.
Chases her. She wakes up screaming. And here a piece of her hair was cut, and it's laying on her book from the dream.
Weird. He's like, you did fall asleep in class. He sounds like this about the movie. He doesn't have the uppity pep like Robert England.
Yeah. So anyways, Chris goes home. Her mom's leaving on a red eye. She works as a flight attendant. That's the type of flight.
Oh.
So mom leaves. Chris sets the house alarm, and then Jesse shows up at her bedroom window. And he comes in. They're kind of talking about what's going on. Find out they're basically having the same dreams about the same guy. And
yeah, like the first one, nothing different.
So she asked him to stay the night, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll stay the night with you. I'll protect you."
Yeah, just like in the first one.
So we cut away to Chris waking up in the middle of the night. She hears a dog barking, so she goes and is looking for, what's his name, Brutus? Something? I don't remember. So she goes looking for her dog.
Uh-oh.
She goes out in the backyard.
Rod from the first one.
No, it's not.
I know, but it's that character. That's how I do it. It's Tina and Rod from the first one, just a remake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chris kind of goes out looking in the yard. All of a sudden, she finds her dog dead, and Freddy stands there like, I was only trying to pet him. So she goes running back in the house. She opens the door, and all of a sudden, she ends up in this preschool. And the younger version of her says they have to hide. She eventually wakes up, but here she is still dreaming. Because she thinks Jesse's laying in the bed. When she lays back down, Freddy's in the bed. He takes her, throwing her all over the room, and Jesse's just watching, like, yelling at her to wake up and everything. And then
first one did it better.
All of a sudden, slash through her body, and she's dead.
First one did it better.
Yeah. So Jesse's like, oh my God, ends up with this blood and everything all over him. Well, he goes running out the front door and sets off the house alarm. Meanwhile, he didn't set it off when he climbed in the window. I don't get that part. All right, guys, sorry about the cut. I accidentally hit something and it stopped recording.
Yeah, you flipped it around too much.
Yeah. Well, I went to flip my tablet over. I think I bumped I did that.
Maybe you should put it somewhere else, but okay.
Well, I'm looking at it so I can look at the screen with you guys. So,
okay. Cool.
So as I left off with Jesse running from the house, setting off the alarm.
Yep.
So in the next scene, Nancy is up in the middle of the night doing some art. Her mom basically is like, you need to go to bed. And she's like, yeah, whatever. All of a sudden, Jesse shows up at the house. Guess he climbed in the window. I guess he
actually climbed through windows.
I guess he's part monkey. I don't know. Because he's climbing up through windows. So he explains what happened to Chris. And Nancy's like, okay. He was also discussing how somebody is killing them in their dreams. Basically, then he hears like police sirens and everything. So before he runs from Nancy's house, he says, don't fall asleep. If you die in your dreams, you die for real. So Jesse leaves, tries to escape. Well, the police end up catching him. And Jesse's taken to jail. Well, while he's in the police car, he goes, Nancy, he's like yelling, Nancy, you believe me. You know what happened. Tell them the truth. So it goes to
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm
So
confused.
Jesse's taken to jail. Nancy calls Quentin and updates him regarding Chris.
Quinn is her boyfriend, right?
Not exactly at this time.
Oh, he's not like
He's just a friend.
the other guy from the first one.
Right. So we go to the next day, and Quentin's at a bookstore researching about sleep and dreams and everything. Well, he ends up falling asleep, and he's walking around.
Like me during this movie.
I don't know if he's walking around the bookstore, or he's walking around the preschool again.
Yeah.
He ends up finding Freddie, but Nancy wakes him up. So, kind of cut away from that. I mean, they do that. This is a lot of cutaway stuff
I don't
here.
like that. That's so. Ugh.
So, anyways, we
Come
cut back
on.
to Jesse in jail, and they're saying Jesse's bail was posted, and he's allowed to leave. Well, he's trying to leave, and he's running into all these dead ends. Then all of a sudden, when he makes one turn, he ends up in the broiler room. He hears Chris's voice crying for help. So
This
he
movie
goes,
doesn't even look scary.
yeah. So he goes to try to find her. He's walking around. Freddie shows up. Jesse starts to run. He gets cornered by Freddie. Freddie disappears and comes up behind Jesse and kills him. But
Doesn't he
Jesse's
stab
still,
him in the back or something?
yeah. Jesse's still in the prison cell, though. He never left. So his roommate's like panicking, like, I didn't do nothing, banging on the door. And
His prison mate.
yeah. Oh, it
Jailmate.
is.
You
Yeah.
said roommate, but okay.
I said his prison mate.
I thought you said roommate.
No.
Well, we'll see.
Anyways,
We'll
so
watch.
it goes back then to Freddie with Jason. He goes, after the heart stops, the brain can function for 7 minutes. So
I didn't know that.
we got 6 more minutes of fun or something. Which I've actually heard that
Well,
before.
you're smart.
So they go back to Quentin and Nancy, and Quentin offers Nancy this Zonerol.
Did you look up if that's real?
No, I forgot. And I was thinking it's supposed to be kind of like Adderall.
Yeah, you would
But maybe
know.
they couldn't use that or whatever. But I forgot to look up if it was
Well, you
actually
should know this stuff. You're
a
smart.
real medication or not. And he said basically it's legal speed for kids. Which, if you guys are familiar with Adderall and what some of the uses are, you'll know what I'm talking about with
No,
that.
I know. I'm a good monster. I don't
And
do stuff like that.
Nancy basically declines it, and they keep researching. So Nancy's at home, and her mom comes home, is yelling for her. Nancy starts discussing with her mom that she remembers the other from preschool from earlier in her life. Her mom's like, no, you don't. So then mom...
Nope, no.
And then, Nancy asks about Freddie, and mom's like, nope, name doesn't ring a bell.
Don't know any Freddie.
So it cuts
Doesn't
away
even
to
say last
mom
name.
going and making a phone call to someone and saying Nancy's starting to remember. A little fishy, huh?
We've seen it
So-
all before. It's nothing different. It's the same
I'm
as
trying
the
to-
first one.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So anyways, we go to the bath scene with Nancy. She falls asleep. You know that scene from the original if you've seen the original.
And it's not even the same. It's actually worse.
No, it's different. Well, then Nancy wakes up, we think. She goes
really.
to her bedroom, and it's snowing in there.
This whole movie was a nightmare.
Right. And I have a comment here that the snow in her room is a total ripoff of Weird Science because Bluto told me to put this.
is.
Which, if
Remember?
you've seen Weird
Check.
Science, you'll know what scene I'm talking about.
You realize it's snowing in my room? Gosh darn it.
So it shows up. So eventually, as she's walking through the snow, she shows up at the preschool, brushes off the sign, and finds out the name of the preschool, which I didn't write it down.
It's not important. Generic priest.
Freddie shows up. Nancy keeps saying, well, I set an alarm. He goes in your dreams. Well, then Quentin calls and wakes her up. So, excuse me.
You're gross.
Sorry, I had to burp.
That's okay. You don't like it when I do it, though.
We haven't done a good one like that since that one. So she goes and tries to find info about the preschool. She knows her mom's hiding something.
I think on Zoogle.
Yeah, eventually.
Okay.
So eventually they find the preschool picture that has like all of them in it. Mom kind of confronts them, and she explained what happened at the preschool, that basically she was trying to protect Nancy from what Freddie did to them and the kids, so they didn't remember.
Yep.
And she makes a comment that Nancy was Freddie's favorite.
You're my favorite.
And that they said he left town before any charges or anything were filed against him, and he was never heard from again.
Well, you probably could still find him if you wanted to.
Right. So Nancy and Quentin Nancy wants to look for the others. So her and Quentin try to leave. Well, Quentin's dad shows up and basically makes Quentin leave. Because Quentin also keeps saying that they're just memories. That's all they are. That's what these dreams are. So it goes to
Oh.
Quentin at swim practice for a little bit. And then we cut back over to Nancy at the library doing some research on the others, and she finds out the others in the photo have died. And she finds some information where they were saying, one of them was saying about the dreams with the guy with the knives for fingers and everything. So then it goes back to...
Goes back to the swimming.
Yeah, it goes back to the swimming. Now I'm trying to read my handwriting. I wrote on the side.
Goes to swimming, and then he wakes up in some place in a boiler.
At one point, Quentin basically falls asleep in the water. He's kind of pulled out of the water. He wakes up in this outside area, this industrial area, and he sees that someone's being chased down by a bunch of cars. It's Freddy.
It's just funny. He just runs right past him. He's not even there.
Well, he's not technically.
Yeah, but you think Freddy? Well, I guess I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, I think it's just kind of Freddy making him see what actually happens.
I guess.
So it turns out it's the parents of the children that are chasing him. They corner him in this building. They end up burning down the building and killing Freddy in it because they didn't want their children having to testify, and they were trying to protect them.
Yeah, so it's the same as the first one.
Oh, I have Quentin C's story. That's what I wrote on that side. The story of what happened.
Story. Oh, I think it said store.
No, story. So Quentin's given CPR and he comes back. Nancy's still at the library. She's basically starts to dream with her eyes open, which is something they mentioned earlier in the movie. After you've been awake for so many days, you kind of... Well, that, and then at some point you kind of start dreaming with your eyes open.
I never heard of that, but okay.
So
I'll roll with it.
Quentin shows up. Nancy tells him everyone else in this photo is dead, but her and him. So Quentin goes to his dad's office at the school and basically gets a confession from his dad that, they were just doing it to protect them. They didn't want him to have to testify and so on. And he says, as far as everyone's concerned, Fred Krueger never existed.
Yeah. Okay.
But then Quentin kind of goes, after they leave, he's beginning to think, like, well, we made up the allegations. And Nancy goes, he's like, they're like, I don't know.
Too much blah, 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 blah.
So as Nancy's walking down the hall, though, what I was saying with the dreaming with your eyes open, she sees Chris's body in the body bag talking to her.
First one did it better.
So they leave. Nancy's adamant about finding the preschool. So they stop by a pharmacy because he wants to get a refill on his Zonaral or whatever it was. Nancy is in the car alone. She starts to fall asleep. Freddy shows up. So while Quentin's in the store fighting with the pharmacist because he doesn't have any more refills on his prescription,
she stole the stuff.
She pushes in the lighter on the car, which you don't really see in newer cars nowadays.
So that had to be an old car.
Yeah, and she once it's lit, she takes it and burns her arm to try to keep awake. A little extreme, but
it's a good thing she had it years old.
So she ends up going inside trying to find Quentin. She ends up falling asleep. Freddy's chasing her. He cuts her. And then he starts yelling at her to wake up because she's bleeding. Well, when she wakes, she had grabbed his sweater as well. And when she wakes up, she actually pulls the sweater with her.
She could have got the drugs for him because she would have been dreaming, and then she could have went into the drugstore, took the drugs, and pulled them out of her dream like they do, and then she would have had the drugs in her dreams.
Well, maybe.
Right?
Maybe. So Nancy's bleeding so bad. Quentin's like, we have to go to the hospital. So they end up going to the hospital. Nancy's mom shows up. Nancy says she knows who died, and her mom's like, just calm down. So Quentin's in the hall. He ends up stealing adrenaline from the med cart that isn't locked, conveniently. So the doctor comes in to Nancy. He's trying to give her pain medication. She's fighting. She says she doesn't want it. She takes mom out. The doctor takes mom out in the hall and basically says, I'm trying to do what's best to help your daughter. Gets mom to sign a form that they can give the medication. Apparently with Nancy being under 18, mom's allowed to authorize that.
She's under 18, just like I am.
So they go back in and Nancy's not in the bed. So her and Quentin had escaped the hospital. They head to the preschool, end up wrecking on the way because Freddy's standing in the road and Quentin sees him.
I must have missed that part.
Yeah. It was very quick.
I remember.
So they're all kind of seeing things and everything. Well, they get to the preschool. They go in the basement and they're looking around and it has like all his stuff and everything in it.
I think you would have got rid of that.
And then all of a sudden they find a wall with a secret entrance, so to speak, behind it which they classified as his cave area where he kind of did all the stuff to these kids.
And nobody noticed that.
Quentin finds evidence that they were telling the truth. Basically, he finds Polaroids of Nancy in some sort of situations. They don't show the pictures.
Which is good they don't. It's like they do.
So, Quentin basically says he didn't bring us here because of what he did. He brought us here so we would remember what was done. So,
the ending of the first one's better when she does the booby traps and all that. So, bleh.
Anyways, Nancy comes up with this plan that she's going to go to sleep because she pulled the sweater. She's going to pull him from the dream, and they're going to take care of him.
Rehash.
So, Quentin says he's going to stay awake. Well, guess what? They both fall asleep.
No.
Freddie beats the crap out of Quentin.
Like I was doing watch
at one
movie.
Point. So we get Freddie finds Nancy. She says about remembering everything, and they do their thing where they're chasing each other. He's saying different things, and eventually Quentin wakes up. He's trying to wake Nancy up, and Freddie goes, he goes, it was all part of my plan. I kept you awake long enough so you could, once you did fall asleep, you wouldn't wake up, which they were saying you would fall into like a coma-like state that you won't wake up from after so many days.
Yep.
So Quentin starts panicking because he can't wake Nancy up. So he takes the other thing of adrenaline and injects her with it.
Would that work that fast? I guess.
Oh, it does. I believe so, unless the medical shows are wrong. I don't know.
Well, wouldn't that stab you in the heart? Wouldn't it stab in
the
heart?
Well, sometimes they do that to get your heart beating again.
I thought a stab in the heart would kind of kill you. But okay.
It's a needle because it goes right in your heart to get your heart beating.
Okay, whatever. I don't know.
So, Nancy wakes up. She was able to drag Freddie into the real world. Basically, I said there's all kinds of bad puns and everything with Freddie throughout this whole thing.
They do not work in this one. And she had to say something really stupid.
Yeah. So Nancy attacks Freddie and kills him, and then they burn the place down. Yeah, so then goes outside with the ambulance and the fire company being there. Quentin's being taken to the hospital. Then it cuts to Nancy walking in the door at home with Mom. They're kind of talking, and Mom's like, I want you to go up and go to bed immediately. She leans down. There's this mirror behind Mom.
So obvious.
And Mom leans down. Well, when she leans back up, Freddie's in the mirror. Arm comes out, pokes her through the eyes and mouth, and she drags Mom into the mirror.
That was
and
so fake there.
Nancy screams, and that's the end.
I thought the ending of the first one was kind of weird, but this is even
worse.
I'm having more fun playing with my foot.
I noticed. So, like I said,
bad.
Yeah.
Maybe not the worst. I don't know. Is this the worst one? Or do you think maybe some of the original ones are bad?
Like, I mean, 2's not that great.
I think this has to be the worst.
I mean, one of them...
The original series was bad, some of them.
I mean, sorry, you got fuzzies flying everywhere in front of me.
You didn't brush me yet.
So, I mean, like, the first one I ever saw was 5 back in the day.
I saw 1.
And then I saw 1 years later.
1 and 3, they're the best.
I don't think I've seen 4.
4 is okay.
And I know I've watched 3 a couple times, and I've watched 2 a couple times. I mean...
Freddy's Dead is kind of bad, but I don't know if it's not as bad as this.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, Blue and I were kind of talking if we thought there was anything that could save this movie.
Robert Englund.
And that's what I said. I'm thinking if Robert Englund may have played... Freddy with Robert Englund is like the way Freddy is supposed to be.
Yeah, he was an elder.
His puns, he brought Freddy to life, so to speak.
I don't know. The guy, I don't know the guy. Maybe not personally. I don't know nothing against the guy who played him. But him playing Freddy just was like,
he was just so serious to me.
Yeah.
I think it's what it was.
Freddy was serious in the first one, but he was so fun.
I think this was, and I think this...
He was just so bland as lines. I told you I shouldn't have pet the dog.
Yeah.
You get dog yet. I'm not done having
I mean, I don't know.
It's so robotic.
I mean, it's like a couple times. It's like he's trying to be, not that Freddy's not sinister in the original series. I think he's just going more for the sinister and the bad dad jokes.
How's this for a wet dream?
Yeah.
They had to rip that off from the fourth one, but bleh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, like I said, I've watched it a couple times.
What would you give this? A rating?
I don't even know.
I'll be generous and give it an F+.
Is that your favorite new rating?
Uh-oh.
So, anyways, I started kind of to start discussing this a little bit in my Sorority Row review. But
that was even better.
What I'm going to do.
I forgot about that. Okay, I'm listening.
I was kind of running this by Bluto, and we thought it would be kind of interesting to do. With some of these ones that have been remade, I'm going to watch the originals and do reviews of them, and then I'm going to do a discussion video. You know, the original versus the remake, and kind of discuss it
Yeah,
and
I remember you talking
everything.
about that.
Yeah, I thought it might be something different to do.
Cool.
You know, you guys can't involve.
We have lots of other ideas, but we're not going to mention them here.
Yeah, we have some other stuff we're working on as well, but that was just something I'm going to
It'd be
work on
fun.
with these, you know, because there's a lot of movies over the years that have been remade, and
Yeah, way too many.
some are okay, some are good. I'm not going to lie, some are good.
Yeah, like The Blob,
Yeah.
The Thing,
hmm
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
That's what.
And then some are awful and shouldn't have been remade.
Some, I say more.
More.
Okay.
So, like I said, that's a game plan of something that's going to be eventually coming up on this channel. So, eventually, if I can get more subscribers, maybe I can do this as a live video and have a live discussion with you guys on that.
Yeah, well, if
so,
you want to do a live, but we have to have lots of people watching.
yeah, that's just it. So
I'm
that's
all
something.
down for a live.
Yeah.
You can ask us questions, or
So
we're going to maybe do like a Whose Line Is It Anyway thing, where you make requests and we'll do them. I want to do that. If you want to see that, let us know. I want to do it.
No, it's not happening.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm under pressure. I'm not good.
I think it'd be fun, but okay.
Anyway, so like I said, that's kind of what's upcoming. This is so far. Sorority Row was a remake of
It was okay.
Sorority House Massacre, right?
House on Sorority
House on
Row,
Sorority. Oh,
right?
Yeah,
Sorority
I
House
have my
Massacre,
list
that's another
over
movie.
on the couch. So,
I like Sorority House Massacre too, but that's getting off topic.
but like I said, that's it. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe, bell icon, so you know when we post new content. Help share the page; it would be greatly appreciated. Also, keep an eye out for the Amazon wish list. I'm planning on starting here
Hopefully
at some point.
soon.
Yeah, I just got to find time to sit and do the list on Amazon and
I'll sit and play with my feet.
You're just going to play with your feet.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're done. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, if there's something you want us to review, let us know in the comments. If you like this movie,
cool. I don't, but cool.
Let me know. I mean, like I said, I've watched it a few times just trying to figure things out, and I've given up. Anyways, that's it. We'll see you in the next one. Blue just got Toe Jam.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.